Welcome to Unfiltered, the podcast where no topic is off limits. We talk politics, religion, culture, and everything people are too scared to say out loud. With your hosts Xavier and Jennifer. No filters, no scripts, no nonsense. Just real conversations, hard questions, and common sense.
Hello, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Unfiltered Common Sense. I am your host, Xavier, with.
Jennifer.
Hopefully, you enjoyed our last episode. On this evening's episode, we're simply going to cover a couple things that are more relative to what's going on today. Over here on the West Coast, there's this thing called a gubernatorial governor's race. I can't believe I'm about to say this. A two-party system where you literally have two people that win and go into a runoff, and it doesn't matter if they're both Democrats or both Republicans, is the dumbest concept I think I've ever heard of in my life. If you're a California resident and you can vote and you vote for a Democrat, you're stupid.
I've been seeing a lot of things that have been going on out there in California, and I haven't lived in California for 15 years, and I cannot believe the
Be
stuff
glad you
that's
don't.
going on out there. Wow, California, what have you done to your state?
So when I'm at work at the office, we don't really talk politics too much, and realistically, we probably shouldn't be considering the nature of what we do. So we are theoretically apolitical, but at the end of the day, we chirp about it a little bit, just nothing too aggressive. And pretty much the general consensus for people that have been in California for a long time, i.e., 10, 15, 20 plus years, the big issue out here is that out on the West Coast is simply put, you have gas prices that are astronomical. And I don't care who you are, you just have to look up the county gas tax, the city gas tax, the state gas tax, the climate impact fee, all this stupid bullshit that they jam into these prices. So when you see the 6.50, $7, 7 plus dollars a gallon, um, that's not a Trump administration thing.
Gouging the heck out of you
Yeah, the
guys.
state. It's the state and the counties. Like, I even looked it up online, and everything from Google to CNN, every literal outlet is saying that the whole reason why California is so screwed up is because of Democratic single party rule.
I, Nick Shirley is coming out there and pointing out the fraud, and people are trying to silence him, which amazes me.
He's been doing amazing, and my wife and I, we've actually followed some of his videos. He does incredible work. If you're tired of the bullshit and you're tired of paying $7, I did see somewhere in San Francisco and LA, it's north of $8 a gallon for certain variants of fuel. The problem is the party that you're allowing to rule your state. It's that simple.
It's like second California. It's our gas prices are about 4.25 right now,
I
and
would do anything for 425. Like,
I bet you. And we're complaining about 4.25, but also our cost of living is getting way up there with California, and a lot of us are going to be moving back in with our folks. Some of us can't even buy homes on our own, like back in 2010 it was easy to buy a home. Now it's getting a little bit tougher and the younger generations are still living at home. So
the the
guys,
thing
what's gonna happen to our future adults and our kids? They're gonna be living with us until they're 45, and then
well, the
it's gonna go on.
I think one of the things that stands out to me that, granted, I couldn't vote on the West Coast if I wanted to. Our domicile is on the East Coast in the Freedom State. But if you look at what each candidate was talking about, Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco, Hilton obviously was endorsed by President Trump. Bianco's just the Riverside County Sheriff. But if you listen to what everybody said, there's like 4 or 5 Democrats that are literally saying the same thing. They're like robotic. They just say the same thing. Well, when I was the Health and Human Services Secretary, I did all these great things. And the reality is you didn't do all these great things. Like the man openly said that he would go against the Constitution of the state of California, which you can't do. Um, the other guy, Steyer, he's a Democrat who's a billionaire. He's the one billionaire in the race, but the things he's saying don't make sense. And the thing is, I just look it up. I do my own independent research, and everything that the Democrats are saying that they're not going to do, they are going to do because they contradict themselves. The answer is if you're tired of the same rigmarole, don't pick somebody with a D in front of their name. It's common sense. I would like to think I'm more of an independent. I'd like to think that I could go to either side of the fence and pick a candidate. But if you have had single party rule for 15 or 16 or 20 years and you're not happy with it, go to the other side. Give it a try. What do you have to lose? It's only a 4-year term for the governor.
You want them to hang around for 8 years so they can make a true difference.
No, no, so that brings up a pretty good point. I'm gonna break away from the not so golden state because California is anything but the golden state. So back when Governor DeSantis of Florida was running for reelection, you got a valid point. If somebody's gonna run for a position like governor or president, it really needs somebody that's going to be there for a minimum of 1 term, but preferably 2 terms, because it's logic thinking that whatever you're going to do in 4 years, it's going to have very minimal impact to the state. You can undo certain things, but in order to make complete change and get your policies fully up and running and thriving, you really need 5 or 6 years minimum. So in reality, you need somebody that's committed to the job, man or woman, for 8 years. And that's I don't care what people say right now. I don't really give a shit. Everybody saw Trump for 4 years. He lost in 2020, which I'm just going to say my convictions on that. There were too many red flags for me to even consider that to be valid. There's a reason why he won re-election in 24. If somebody holds a position like the presidency, loses it, and then gets it back, that says something. DeSantis ran for reelection. He won in a landslide, like 19 or 20 point victory over his opponent. When DeSantis was actually putting forth the effort to be governor, he was doing great. He was doing phenomenal things, things that Floridians loved, things that we appreciated, things that I said, hey, if I'm going to raise my family in Florida, that's the standard I want to go with. You come out to a state like California, and it's polar opposite. It's unaffordable. And a lot of people will do this Monday morning quarterback thing where they'd say, "Oh, if that was me in that position, I would do this differently, I would do that differently." Until you're in those shoes, until you're actually filling that position, don't Monday morning quarterback. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Um,
My bad. I
there's
kinda went on a
so
tangent.
much going on in politics between California, Colorado, all over. It's sometimes mind-boggling. I am like looking at things from my perspective and where I'm at, and I'm just like, something better than this because I don't know how it's going to be in my son's future. And so that's all I like worry about is him being an adult and owning a home and thriving as an 40 something year old man. And here we are today going, God, are we going to be able to handle this?
Well, here's the key to anybody's success is the younger generations right now, like me being in my late 30s, uh, you have to understand that planning 3 to 5 years down the road is not enough. Planning 7 years down the road is not enough. You have to be 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So, realistically, the only methodology to have any success in this economy specifically, smart investments, trying to some degree to be a homeowner if you can. I understand that these interest rates are absolutely ridiculous. Now, granted, if I talk to my parents about it, they'd say these interest rates are nothing compared to what we had when we were growing up. It's like, okay, yeah, I can understand that, but understand this is all temporary. But um, anybody that's asked me for advice on what to get into, any stocks that pay like either a quarterly or a monthly dividend, There's a lot of stocks out there that do that. Savings accounts are really not doing much justice these days. It's looking for cheap, easy investments that are reliable, that are steady. A lot of people, Motley Fool, etc., call them cash cows. I invested in, I think, Broadcom, Next Era Energy, and a few other companies when I was earlier on in my career, and they've been paying dividends both metaphorically and legitimately. So, looking to see what can secure your future for a decade or 2 decades out is really where everybody needs to be right now.
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely where I wished I would have not cashed in my stock for Walmart years ago
That thing
because I'd
exploded.
probably be sitting on a landmine right now.
Even the biggest things in life start off really small. You gotta set a goal for yourself. I don't wanna work for somebody else. When I do retire from this chapter of my life, um, I'm probably going to have to maintain some sort of job for a year or 2, a full-time job just to make sure there's money coming in, but my ultimate goal in my life is to ultimately have my own successful business, hopefully in real estate, hopefully in property management, and just keep expanding it, expanding it, expanding it to make it so that it's self-maintaining. That way, there's always an inflow of monies somewhere. Um, my wife's constantly looking at real estate in Florida, even Georgia. And personally, I think that that's kind of the golden goose for people if you get into it.
At this point in my life, planning for tomorrow.
I'm just trying to plan for tomorrow. I started investing, I think 22, 23 years old, and it was just a shot in the dark. I just went for the Facebook IPO, just whatever
Sure.
I could get my hands on just to get started off. But there was a friend of mine that was stationed, out on the West Coast once upon a time, and he told me, "Just grab a hold of anything you can get a hold of and just hold on to it, play the long game." And that's really been the biggest, attributes to whatever success I've had. It's just
I think that is really good advice for sure. For myself personally, as a young person, I did some really dumb things and wasn't
been
investing in anything.
who didn't do dumb things when they were growing up. I think I checked every box growing up.
I feel like I've checked every box for don't do this for sure. And
I mean, it's not the
yeah,
worst thing in the world. The best thing anybody can do realistically is just set a goal, whether you wanna be an astronaut, you wanna be a teacher, whatever the hell your goal is. I wanna own my own business. Start small and just try to save whatever you can along the way, try to expand a little bit, and then before you know it, you have something bigger. There's a lot of good quotes from Steve Jobs, who, was one of the founders of Apple, and pretty much he said, once you get hold of an idea, don't let go of it, just keep going with it, keep chipping away at it over time. He has good quotes, would be Elon Musk, because Elon Musk started SpaceX 20 plus years ago, and that man was on the verge of going completely bankrupt. He was using his, stocks from Tesla and a few of the other companies they started, and there's actually a documentary, I think it was on Netflix once upon a time, but when I was watching it, you could see this young guy in his, like, mid to late 30s. He essentially was at the point where he had, I think, a quarter million or something left in his pocket, and he had whatever other monies he had, he literally put into a rocket that exploded, and they recouped, they got their team of engineers together and said, "Okay, where did this go wrong? How do we get this right?" And they tried one more time, and the last time he tried it, which if it hadn't been successful, I think it oughta honestly would have bankrupt him. It was successful, and that was essentially the birth of SpaceX, was getting the rocket in the air and getting it to land. So, I would say any advice that I could give anybody is set a goal for yourself, set the bar wherever the hell you want it, set as high as you wanna set it, the higher the better, and then the more you learn in life, the more you experience, save what you can, invest in what you believe in, invest in what you feel is gonna grow, and don't be, dissuade from the setbacks. You're gonna have setbacks in life.
kind of reminds me of a movie back in like the early, I'm gonna say 2000s. It was a Brandon Fraser movie where they all lived in, like, a bomb shelter, and they were found out, and they come out rich. Now that is, like, so far-fetched, but in a way, they believed in something, they invested in it, and they're living rich after they came out from being in that bomb shelter, so, hey, you got something there.
But at the
Yeah,
end of the day, I
definitely
think,
investment.
invest in what you wanna invest into, go with what makes you happy, and stick to your gut on it. If you don't do that, your gut's right 9 times out of 10 anyways. I mean, there's a script from the Bible, there's a concept where if you take whatever money that you have and you just bury it or put it under your pillow at night, it's never gonna grow, and essentially, kinda like the concept of Jesus telling you, "Oh, if you give a man a fish, he eats for a day, but if you teach a man to fish, he eats for life. Him and his family are gonna eat for life." You can't necessarily be always be afraid of something. If you get an idea put in your head, you can either pursue it a little bit and see if it's within reason, if it's achievable, or you can just play it safe and be super conservative about it, and then you'll say, "Oh, I missed the train. I wish I jumped into Bitcoin when it was affordable." I saw this yesterday, I saw it again today, so I just have to put this out there. Um, there was a notion that some states were gonna suspend the state's gas tax, i.e. Georgia, I think they're suspending theirs, or they already did. I heard a rumor that Florida was gonna suspend their state gas tax, and I think a few other southeast states were gonna suspend them. Well, the country's in California right now, and I guess the governor was asked, "Oh, are you gonna suspend the state gas tax?" And he said, "No, I'm proud of what we're doing. I'm proud of screwing over my constituents. I'm proud of screwing over the citizens of the state." So, if you wanna know who's about the little guy, it's not a Democrat, just him.
They believe that they're the party of the people, but,
Insinuating
I have
violence?
the people who don't feel that way.
I'm sorry, but the last time I checked, I didn't like former President Biden, but I never wished anything bad about him. I just couldn't wait till his term was over, and I don't recall any Republicans openly saying death to Biden or anything. Nobody ever did that, but yet there's been open attempts at a sitting president. It's like, really? Like,
Right,
your party is openly the one that's doing these things. That's just insane.
right.
I never thought I would see the country get to this point.
Before, uh, he came into politics, nobody's ever treated a president the way he's been treated, and it just blows my mind. Why is it okay that people are doing these things? Because in my opinion, you should be in jail or prison. I don't know. I might be wrong.
All I know is that The View used to love having him on the show before he was president. Um, all these entities that talk shit about the guy habitually all used to love him before he became a presidential candidate, and then magically they were told, "Can't do that. You can't like this guy. You can't support him. He's a bad guy. He's a Republican now." It
Yeah,
blows my mind.
but it really don't make sense. He had all these friends, and he did cameos for movies. Now he's public enemy number one. It makes absolute no sense.
If you wanna see what dysfunction looks like, look at Ukraine. Dysfunctional.
Yeah,
Venezuela
we give
was
them millions,
what's that?
billions. We've given them billions.
Well, yeah, I know. The thing is, like, everybody's like, "Oh, we have to support Ukraine." No, we don't have to support Ukraine. Ukraine has not done anything for us. They're not an ally of ours. We don't have to support a fraction of the countries that we support. Palestine, what the hell do they do for us? Nothing. I've never once seen or heard Palestine do anything good for the US. All the countries that actually care about us, like, that have actually been cordial with the US, those are all countries that Trump's actually been trying to work with, like Israel. Um, so I think it's more of a people don't realize how good you can have it. You're just so used to it being rough that you just wanna keep status quo. You're too afraid to see what good can be if you open your eyes to it a little bit. I think there's seriously a mental illness that comes with people that can't seem to get a certain individual's name out of their mouth.
The
I mean,
TBS is a real thing, in my opinion.
when you wake up in the morning and you say a person's name and bitch and moan about it more than you say your wife's name or your husband's name or your kids' names, you got problems. You just I'm so glad something's consumed your life so much. We have some great neighbors where we live right now, and a few of our neighbors are belligerent liberals. They agree with me on 9 out of 10 things, but they're like, "No, I can't support a Republican." I'm like, "You are the definition of a conservative. Why are you so anti-conservative if you're the definition of?" It doesn't make sense.
People do it all the time.
Do what? They just they're just very set in their ways or set with their party affiliation? Or
I just don't understand why you can't go about it differently. You could probably be not go that way and just go with policy over party.
you're talking about using common sense.
Unfiltered common sense. That's what we
I don't know. I
do.
mean, if somebody asked me why something's not working the way it's supposed to work, I would just say, "Okay, well, if this isn't working, why don't you try something different? Why don't you try a different side, like the red team versus the blue team?" I think it's
You
because
know,
people become creatures of habit. They just wanna stick to what they've been doing, even though what they do doesn't work. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And when you don't get it, it's like, okay, you've wasted a decade, 2 decades of your life going this way when it hasn't yielded the result that you want. So maybe it's
it's
time for you to
it's
change it up a little bit.
definitely insane. I saw Spencer Pratt, and he's running for
LA Mayor.
mayor in LA.
Yep.
And I felt it really interesting whenever they were calling him MAGA, and he's like, "I'm not MAGA. I'm just pointing out the truth, like my truths here and what I've seen, and I'm pointing out the fraud. I'm not MAGA," but it's like he's pointing out the fraud, so they automatically call him MAGA. Just because you are putting the words out there that you see something doesn't mean that you are the other thing. It just means that you're starting to think differently and you probably need to restructure your whole thinking. You don't have to be MAGA. You just have to be a person with a mind who thinks for the better good of the human race instead of taking everything into your own pocket and putting it for yourself and the greed.
I think the I think the biggest issue is that everybody's afraid to go against the grain. It's like I said, everybody gets used to status quo. We got here by some means, by some methodology, whether you're California, the United States, Florida, what have you. People get comfortable following the crowd. And when you have something, case in point, like the fraud being exposed in Minnesota, the fraud being exposed in California, now magically you have these Democrats, because that's what it is, that are now running defense vice offense. And then you, like you mentioned earlier, you have the Nick Shirleys out there that are now questioning things, and they're using very simple questions. They're pointed, but they're very simple questions. And I think it was Tim Walz who tried to take credit for what the FBI was doing. He said, "Yeah, we've uncovered all this fraud in Minnesota, billions and billions of dollars worth of fraud." And then all these people on Twitter or X, whatever the hell it's called, just start punching him verbally saying, "You're now talking about this even though the FBI has been exposing it on your watch." So I think
Yeah, I just don't believe that man at all. I think he is part of the corruption
yes,
of it all. Cast a blind eye while you all take the money from your own people. I believe that there's money laundering in our government. I
well,
don't
there
have
is.
proof of that, but I'm sure there's some form of it.
This is just what I think. I think Ukraine has been a money laundering scheme since day one. I think everything with Iran, with Obama was a money laundering scheme. I don't buy into it. Like, think about it this way. If you have a friend, your neighbor's not going to constantly ask you for money or ask you for favors. maybe every now and then you guys ask each other, "Hey, you mind watching the kids for a little bit this afternoon?" Or, "Can I borrow your lawnmower, your weed eater or something?" But when a country claims to be your friend off of the premise of you give them billions and billions of your citizens' tax dollars, that's not a friend, that's not an ally. In Iran, what's the point? There's no point. It's all bullshit. Like, realistically, if I was president, I would probably turn off the savings account or the checking account with Ukraine and say, "Figure it out on your own. Figure it out. If you can't figure it out, then tough luck." Iran, I think, needed to happen because us giving them billions of dollars on pallets to tell them, "Be nice, don't build a nuclear arsenal," and such. For Christ's sake, you really think they were gonna not pursue nuclear power? Like, it's obvious that they were. At least in my opinion, it was. So,
But they've been screaming for 50 years, "Death to America." How can we want to back that up?
this is that common sense applies every day. There's just too many people in this country that don't have any. It's that simple.
If you want to join the crew, head over to Facebook and search for our group, Unfiltered Common Sense, and we'll have daily discussions happen there. You
Open
can
to hearing
also
anything
catch us
anybody's got.
on YouTube and hit the subscribe button and drop a comment. If you want deeper thoughts and episodes, you can also hit Substack. And so just search for Unfiltered Common Sense on all three platforms to find us. We want to hear from you. Until next time.
Have a good night.
Thanks for listening to Unfiltered Common Sense, the indie podcast where no topic is off limits. We talked truth, challenged ideas, and said the quiet parts out loud. If today's episode made you think, laugh, question something, or even disagree, then we did our job. Don't forget to follow, share, and join us next time for more real conversations with no filters and a whole lot of common sense. Until then, stay bold, stay curious, and keep thinking for yourself.